I was just reading this commentary basically by Jim Willie. You may know him as the Golden Jackass guy. Very informed guy, good opinion on what he talks about. Very focused on the precious metals markets, but he knows all about the banking sector too. Trust me, derivatives, you name it. And he says if Deutsche Bank goes under, it will be Lehman Brothers times five. Back in the Bear Stearns and Lehman Brother days, that's what we all are used to from 2008. They collapsed and they had to have the bailout from AIG after they collapsed. It would have took the whole banking system down and all that. Deutsche Bank, he says, is Lehman times five. I would almost feel like it's significantly more than times five, personally. The amount of derivatives alone exposure Deutsche Bank has is one of the top banks of all, from what I understand, with derivatives. Matter of fact, he says right here, with Deutsche Bank forced to issue a statement defending its liquidity today after its stock crashed 10% to financial crisis lows, implying that a $70 trillion derivatives book may be on the verge of collapse. We thought it appropriate to revisit Jim Willie's dire warning that if Deutsche Bank goes down, it will be Lehman Brothers times five. And he says a bank failure contagion, that's what's going to push the price of gold way over $2,000 an ounce again. The price of silver is going to be moving over $100, and the price of gold is going over $5,000. A failure of Deutsche Bank would trigger a systemic banking contagion that the likes of which the Western world has never seen before. With Eurozone banks showing renewed signs of crisis, and of course Deutsche Bank deleveraging by a massive $425 billion over the past year, the fastest pace since 2011, near Euro collapse, and Barclays admitting a $12.8 billion capital shortfall this Tuesday. In fundamental indicators in the gold market screaming financial crisis, such as GOFO rates remain negative for nearly 20 days and massive inventory drawdowns at the COMEX and LBMA, the doc, Silver Doctors, spoke with Jim Willie Tuesday in an explosive must-read interview. Jim Willie, who recently stated that Deutsche Bank is under major duress and could be the first major bank to collapse in the next stage of the banking crisis, informed the doc that unlike the collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008, which the Western central banks were able to contain thanks to $13 trillion in bailout funds, a failure of Deutsche Bank would trigger a systemic banking contagion the likes of which the Western world has, never seen. When asked by the doc how Deutsche Bank differs from Lehman Brothers in 2008 and what events could lead to a renewed banking crisis, Willie responded and said, "My best German source informs me that three major banks are in trouble." And by the way, let me stop for a second. Jim Willie has been talking about Deutsche Bank for quite some time, way before Deutsche Bank was really on anybody's radar. Old Jim Willie had been talking about it. Watch Deutsche Bank. Sure enough, here it is in the spotlight. My best German sources inform me that three major banks are in trouble, and these three banks are fighting every single night to fight off insolvency and failure. He says Citigroup in New York, Barclays in London, and Deutsche Bank in Germany, every single night are in trouble. The important thing to keep in mind about Deutsche Bank is that it won't go down alone if it goes down at all. If it fails, it will take along with it 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15 other banks. It will be one or two quickly, then a third, then a fourth a few weeks later, another, then before you know it, all of Italy and their major banks would be kaput. My belief is that Deutsche Bank and its constant overnight risk of failure is somewhat tied to derivatives related to LIBOR and also a risk related to their Forex derivatives. In other words, derivatives that the banks use to balance off the currencies. Believe it or not, in the derivatives world, gold is treated like a currency. Now, isn't that ironic? The Forex derivatives that the banks are involved in are very much tied to gold. The big immediate threat for Deutsche Bank, though, has to do with their problems in hiding debt for the sovereign nations applying for the Eurozone. For example, Greece and Italy couldn't have their debt ratios over certain levels. So what Deutsche Bank did was they turned nice big chunks of sovereign debt into currency swaps. For example of how this works, suppose you have a $250,000 bad business loan that is stinking up your credit report. So you call up your favorite Deutsche Bank bankster, or Goldman Sachs, or JP, Morgan Stanley, JP, whoever. Pick your criminal enterprise. That is your personal favorite, he says. And you tell him, look, I've got $250K debt here, and I want to make it go away. They say, okay, we can do something clever here. We can pay off your debt so your credit report looks good. And we can establish this 250,000 euro swap, and we'll keep it off the books. So you have this $250,000 bad loan stinking up your books. It goes away and is replaced by something hidden, a euro currency swap. That's precisely what was done on a larger macro scale by Greece and Italy, and Deutsche Bank is involved with several of these. And the total that is becoming disclosed is $400 billion. Apply your typical ratios, leverage and whatnot, and you can conclude that they are 10, 15, 20 billion short for capital requirements. The big banks are so criminal that they have converted fraud and criminal activity into a small cost of doing business. When asked to clarify his statement that a failure of Deutsche Bank would likely result in a contagion of bank failures, Jim really responded. He said, Deutsche Bank is in a slightly different situation than Barclays, even though Barclays just announced a $12.8 billion capital shortfall on Tuesday. Barclays. How many other well-known banks do you think are in the same position? Almost all? Maybe even all? Does it matter if almost all or maybe or all? No. Because then once one collapsed, daisy chain, next one, next one, next one. What do you say? The shortfall Tuesday. The former Deutsche Bank CEO Ackerman was forced out last year. Interpol came into Ackerman's office and conducted a financial document raid. There's a new sheriff in town. Sources indicate that big, powerful, Eastern interests hired Interpol to clean things up. We had events in April, May, and June in which 5,000 metric tons of gold were lifted out of London. Eastern entities were angry as hell that their gold had been leased and rehypothecated. The London banks used the Easterners' gold as equity for futures contracts that went bad, like in Spanish, Greek, and Italian debt. I'm telling you, this guy knows his stuff. Deutsche Bank CEO could not withstand an assault on their office to retrieve data, even though he appealed to several high-level politicians. I remember this, actually. Fast forward to July 2013, and now we are seeing several Deutsche Bank vice presidents being indicted under various fraud charges, and they're almost all cooperating with Interpol. They've flipped to cooperate with the Serious Fraud Division of Interpol. London and New York remain fortresses for the cartel banksters, but Frankfurt might be in the process of being penetrated. Getting back to your question as to why a Deutsche Bank failure would be different than Lehman Brothers, it's because they are involved with all the different sovereign bonds. Spain, France, Italy, Greece, they're involved with all of them and their balance sheet qualifications for the European Union. Deutsche Bank is involved very closely with all of the Eurozone currencies and bonds, and they have massive swaps interwoven with all the major Western banks. I have a client informing me that Deutsche Bank has a bunch of swaps that they wrote against Detroit municipal bonds. Deutsche Bank has their fingers in a lot of different pies. Lehman Brothers was involved in numerous mortgage instruments. Don't bet your money that Deutsche Bank will go down. But if it does, the next day is going to be Citi, Barclays, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, Societe Generale, and big threats to JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. In conclusion, Deutsche Bank owns $25 trillion in over-the-counter swaps with the central banks and other major banks. So expect a daisy chain of derivatives failures for the 1.6 quadrillion derivative market if it were to fail. Deutsche Bank cannot break down by itself. It would result in the complete breakdown of the European Monetary Union. In today's world, when a big bank dies, they merge them with another big bank. Another European bank, potentially Barclays. I think we are going to see massive amounts of money flooding into gold. A bank failure contagion. That's what's going to push gold over 2,000 per ounce again. Silver is going to be moving over $100 per ounce, and gold will be going over $5,000. As I am as certain of it as I am that the sun will rise in the east in the morning come January. When, in order to deal with the financial crap, debt that's out there, to revalue anybody's currency or to create a new currency, it has to be backed by something. And that something is I've been telling you, it's going to be precious metals. You can't have $15 silver and $1,200 gold backing the enormous amounts of debt that the world needs to have to even freaking function. Even if they were to wipe the debt clean somehow and just wipe it off the face of the earth and say, oh, well, we're starting over, but no one really knows. We just wiped the trillions of dollars off the books and we're just starting over. Does that all of a sudden change? For example, America, our GDP to debt ratio, debt to GDP ratio, is over 100%. Would that change that? It wouldn't. Well, you'd say, well, yeah, but if you wipe everything out and start over, there's no debt. We would simply be borrowing money into existence the same way we did this whole time. So it may look good at first. Oh, there's no more $19 trillion debt. Nope. But instantly the next year, oh, there's your first $1 trillion in debt. There it is. Up next year, $1.2 trillion, back in the deficit again. Oh, we're back in the red. Just like that. That's why you have to have control of the money printing, the budget process. You have to have a budget. And gold backing is kind of a forceful budget. We've been able to skate around that when we got off the gold standard in 1971. Paper money, fiat currency, meaning paper money that's backed by nothing, which again is the whole damn world today, historically has a lifespan of approximately 39 to 40 years. 39 to 40 years. Sometimes it dies earlier, sometimes it dies a little later, but on average it's about 39 to 40 years. 1971, 81, 91, 2001, 2011, 40 years. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 5 years later, 45 years total. Look at the problems we have today. Largest spending budget ever known to mankind in America just got passed recently, right? The omnibus bill, as they called it, 1.2 or whatever it was trillion, 1.1, 1.2 trillion. And the next one will be even bigger, right? It's on its way out. They know this. They're ready to deal with it. Gold and silver have been chosen, as they always are, to deal with this at the end of this particular cycle. You are not going to be around the next time this happens. Your children won't be around. Their children won't be around the next time this happens. Take advantage now, as I've just said in my other video, and buy your precious metals now. The kind that you get shipped to your house and you keep in your possession. Doesn't matter if it's gold, silver. Should I buy the 1 ounce bars, the 1 ounce coins, the round? It honestly doesn't freaking matter. But if I have a choice, I'm going with the American silver 1 ounce silver eagle. Some of you may say, yeah, but I've got 50, 60K I want to drop in. I got to get out now. I don't know if you want to lug that much silver around. You may be wanting to put some of that into gold because you can get a lot more or a lot less gold, a little pile of gold, or a massive wheelbarrow full of silver, same price right now, right? Like for the amount of money spent, you can have a little pile of gold in your hand or a freaking wheelbarrow of silver. Same amount of money spent. You have to decide what you want to do. If you don't have that kind of money, and I certainly don't, but if oh, I got about 5 grand, 10 grand. You know what? Go put it all in silver. I'm all in silver, by the way. I actually used to have a little bit of gold years ago. I cashed that sucker in, or those suckers in, and immediately turned around and bought some silver. I just feel that silver is going to move percentage-wise more than gold because of that historical couple thousand years at least of history showing silver to gold ratio has always been about 16 to 1, 20 to 1, somewhere around there. 16 ounces of silver or 20 ounces of silver buys you 1 ounce of gold. It's like 70 something or something like that right now to 1. It'll cost you like 70 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. That has to come back to normal. This is just a little tiny split hair in the time span of 2,000 years that we're in right now, where it's not 16 to 1 or 20 to 1. I feel like you'd be a fool to think it's just going to stay that way. So if that came down today to normal, you would see $70, $80 silver right now as I'm talking. And I'm telling you, it will happen. And it's probably going to happen after silver has exploded way past $100 an ounce. And I told you, I can't wait for the day when I say, guys, and I'm going to grab a pile, I'm going to grab the exact amount of silver. I'm going to say, okay, what's it up? It's such and such price today. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to grab however much silver it is to buy a house. Free and clear. Decent, normal, not real expensive, right? Middle class house, we'll call it. And say, guys, here's what I've got to go buy a house today. I hope you got the same thing. I hope you're either paying off your house, you're buying a new house, maybe you're buying a rental property, you're doing something. While everyone else was focused on the freaking Super Bowl, American Idol. I need a new car. Time for a new car. But then in that car you got like 3-4 years old? You bought that? Yeah, I know. But so-and-so got a new car. Right? Completely focused on the wrong things. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Because I've been talking about, how I've got the old van, which I think I mentioned this the other day. 2005 Dodge Caravan. It was paid off. We just paid it off not that long ago. I had all kinds of problems. Bought my wife a nice new newer, still used, 2015 Chrysler Town & Country. And it's got a freaking valve cover leak. I think there's an issue with all of them, but I'm taking it to the dealer tomorrow. It's covered. Bottom line is, last thing I wanted to do is get put back into any kind of debt, making payments on anything. But there's just some things in life, there's just no way around. You just have to deal with it. Was I going to go take $6,000-$7,000 in cash, go buy another one of those vans, or maybe we'll go find one and make payments on it again? So if before I had a $200 a month payment, and I just got done paying that, but now I had to get rid of the van because it's falling apart, why don't I just get a $387 payment, paid off as fast as possible? YouTube, video ads, appreciate that. That's going to help me pay this sucker off faster than normal. But that's where my mind's at. Joe, YouTube earnings from the advertisements, every penny you get, maybe even, I don't necessarily have to put another account, but monitor it, put it aside, and nail that van, pay it off. But I thought too, again, emergency thoughts in my mind. What if crap hits the fan? What if things happen? Do I really want to dump a bunch of money every month at this van to find out, oh, well, you got it paid down pretty low, but now all hell's breaking loose and you wish you had that damn money? Be smart about it. Make the normal payment, $387 a month, and just stockpile. Yes, in my bank account. Understand, keeping as little in the bank as possible, but I do think I might create a little savings account or something. Put that money in there and let it pile up every month. And that combined with just my job, money, whatever, maybe I can get this thing paid off pretty quick. So I didn't want to get back in debt, but my family has to be safe when they're in that van. I can't have this damn thing stalling out when you're coming up to a stop sign or traffic light, and no one can find out what's wrong with it, and just you name it. So I hate saying I got back into debt. It hurts. It's painful because I'm trying to tell everybody to get out of debt. We just got out of debt. Got in this house, renting it, no debt at all until we just got this van. But again, there's some things in life you just have to do. You just have to deal with. I had a $200 payment. As soon as it gets paid off, up, back in another payment. So if I'm going to be in a freaking payment in perpetuity, then for God's sakes, I might as well pay a little bit, a little more per month and get something freaking nice and newer. Not a 2005, freaking 10 years old. How about a 2013, 2014, 2015? Happened to find the 2015. Decent deal. Looked at the Kelley Blue Book price. It was right. Good deal. Okay, I'll get it. Still got 5 years, 100,000 mile warranty. Come on. Anyway, I really hope you take care of yourself and get you some precious metals, because that's the only thing that's going to save you. And I'll be honest, I'd love to find metals going ape shit in the very near future. And I say, oh my God, remember that video I was going to do about the pile of silver here? I'm going to go buy a house. Mini video first. Small pile of silver. One fits in one hand. Guys, I'm going to go pay off my wife's new van. I'm going to go pay it off. I'll be right back. And then I come right back. Oh, silver went crazy again. It's up another $20 today. Webbach nailed that. Two hands this time. Gonna go get a new house. Wouldn't that be fantastic? My intentions were never to do that. I never thought silver was going to go that crazy until I really saw the situation for what it was and the massive manipulation for what it was and what it still is. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm just trying to protect my wealth and tell other people that listen to me, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. You may want to think about that. Here's why. And then I realized it's not just going to be about preserving your wealth. It's going to go crazy, because as everyone else starts losing and we start winning, so to speak, with our silver and gold, they ain't going to sit on the sidelines. Nobody does. They jump in with both hands as fast as possible. Oh, it's skyrocketing. I got to get in on that price move. You do remember the Webbot report. It's been very accurate recently. And it said there's going to be a panic. It had several choice words similar to panic to own silver. Why would there be a panic to own silver if it's $15 an ounce and who gives a crap? I'm telling you, I can feel it in my bones. This is going to happen. How soon? That I wish I knew, but I don't. But you can see the writing on the wall. Deutsche Bank's failing. These derivatives are gonna go and cause. It'll be like World War III across the whole entire planet, but in a financial collapsing sense, not actual war. And you have history. You've always had history to show you precious metals stand the tests of time, if you will. So anyways, done speaking. Take care.